Hey guys, welcome back to Young Americans Abroad, your best place for weekly content on young American soccer players playing overseas. My name is Austin Van Churn.
And my name is Patrick Ferry.
And guys, welcome to our show. All right, guys. So this week we've got a pretty big episode for you. We had a lot of performances midweek and over the weekend, and we're going to cover that today a little bit differently. But we got to talk about some information that was dropped on Monday. And Pat, what was that?
Yeah, so drum roll here, guys, and it was the Olympic qualification roster. So it's exciting news that we had to give you guys and include in the episode here. So again, with Jason Kreis getting those. It originally was 31 players, now down to 28 with some club situations. But again, a training camp ahead of the qualifying championship there in Guadalajara, Mexico. Crucial for us, to get there to Tokyo there. And again, like I mentioned, they have a few weeks to get together before they have to trim it down to 20, Austin. So it'll be kind of interesting who makes the final cut.
Yeah, for sure. And because it's such a, interesting topic to talk about, we thought today we would spend most of the episode talking about that. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to kind of, dive into our weekly report more into quick kicks. So stick around for that. But I guess, Pat, should we talk a little bit more about this whole qualifying process and, how it's formatted? How are things set up?
Yeah, absolutely, Austin. So obviously it's featuring 8 nations there. Divided into 2 groups of 4 teams. So we have a fun group here, you could say.
Right.
With, Mexico, Costa Rica, and the Dominican Republic. And then, in Group B there is Canada, Honduras, El Salvador, and Haiti. So I believe it's the top 2 finishers in each group will advance to that pivotal semifinals. And ultimately, that will send 2 winners to the Olympics in Tokyo, as representatives of the CONCACAF nation there.
Yeah, which is kind of cool because, that means we don't have to win the tournament. Obviously, you always want to win every tournament
Right.
you enter into, but it kind of does give us a little bit of wiggle room. And looking at that Mexico team that they selected, it's going to be a challenge. That group stage game when we play them, I think this roster that we're going to assemble here might be a little weaker than it could have been. So I think that's going to, help the Mexicans out a little bit more. But I feel like it's I feel good at going into this competition. This is something that, like you said, Pat, I think earlier, this is a year in waiting. Last March there was a roster selected for these games, and then COVID hit, and the world changed. So now that we're a year later, finally playing these games, it really just feels good, and hopefully we can capitalize.
Yeah, definitely. And to quickly add here before we jump into things, like you said, it's been long awaited, and a lot has changed in the year. Even so, with some of these players coming in and out, and injuries and transfers, and just more of those YAAs moving abroad. So again, I only wish that some of the European clubs were a little more lenient with our players.
Right.
There.
Right. That's the big narrative from this roster. It just feels like due to certain situations, which I think is good. When you really think about it, Christian Pulisic's eligible for this competition, and he's a senior professional now for many years. So it's good that he's in that position and not spending I don't know preseason in MLS and is available. So I guess like you said, Pat, maybe we should go into our first position group and just talk a little bit about the goalkeepers and who's been selected.
Yeah, so let's dive right into it. So in terms of the goalkeepers, really wanted to highlight and start off with a player we've talked about a good amount on the show, obviously, when we're talking about the U.S. pool and the youth setup here, and that's David Ochoa there. So again, he had a pretty meteoric rise in terms of with the Monarchs there, winning that USL championship, and then kind of being that guy to heralded to come up and take Ramondo's torch, pass the torch per se. But obviously, there's been some changes, some unfortunate injuries, and then even Andre Putna and then Zach McMath had some of the stopping minutes there. So it was kind of hard to come by, and it is it's a pretty challenging position in terms of what they have out there with Real Salt Lake and with Ochoa. So he's at a pretty crucial point in his career, Austin, where he's really making a name for himself from the U.S. Program perspective, but needs to get that starting spot sooner or later, as some of the other guys here on the list could pass him pretty quick.
Yeah, and he's still super young. He would have been eligible for the U20 World Cup that could have been played this year. So definitely the youngest player out of this group of goalkeepers, and the player I think we're all kind of in the same consensus of has honestly the highest potential still. So I think it's good to see him here.
Yeah, absolutely. And then talking about a Philadelphia Union guy and a PA native, rising up, the 22-year-old Matt Freese there. So he's 6 foot strong, reflexes, great diving, things like that. Needs to improve a little bit in terms of communicating, and then on the ball, building out of the back there, which again comes with experience. 22 is still pretty young for a goalkeeper there, Austin. And he did recently too get that first call up with the senior team in the U.S. January camp. So had again that experience where you have Andre Blake, such a top quality keeper in the MLS with the Union, having that injury. I think it was a hand injury. Having Matt get some game time there, and then even helped them win that trophy with the Supporters Shield. So that was really exciting and really bolstered his stock there. So again, he's somebody that is right there on the cusp, but has kind of that backup spot behind Andre Blake right now. But is looking pretty strong overall. Being a part, like I mentioned, for that senior camp and getting some look.
Right. Yeah, and he's really been someone who's gotten call-ups here recently, and hasn't really been on the radar too much throughout his career. So, it's good to see him progress. I think, Pat, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think this goalkeeping group is a lot of unknowns, or I guess a lot of unproven players, in my opinion, players that we really haven't seen much of, basically because they're not really playing all the time for their clubs. JT Marcinkowski might be the only name you can say he's playing regularly for his club team, or at least semi-regularly. But it just kind of throws a different curveball, I guess, to this group.
Yeah, certainly. And Austin, you hit the nail on the head there. So not much more to cover there, really. It's kind of again, obviously don't want to give away anything towards the end here, but a battle between Marcinowski, there and Matt. So I think Ochoa is right in the fold there. Like you said, he's young and have a lot more years ahead of him to build up. But yeah, it's kind of an interesting, goalkeeper set that we have here, for the U23 group. So it's kind of interesting as opposed to maybe in past has been a little bit stronger, to be honest. Yeah.
So I think with that, we'll move on to the defenders now. And really the narrative with them came from a post-announcement update we got about this roster. So Atlanta United pulled all 3 of their players from this roster. So that'd be Brooks Lennon, Miles Robinson, which we're going to talk about here in a second. And who was the other one, Pat? It was George Bello.
George Bello, yep.
Remember, another defender. We're getting into the defenders now. So with that update, basically they're looking out for their own best interest. They have CONCACAF Champions League coming up. And I guess, these 3 players coming back from this trip would have had to quarantine for a certain amount of time, and that would have made them miss, their first game of the season. So, losing Miles Robinson as a center back on this roster is really a big deal, Pat. This is honestly the best center back we had on this roster. So with that being said, right now there's really 3 that stand out to me, and that would be, Justin Glad. We have Henry Kessler, who we really don't know too much about. We've really only seen him kind of thrown into the fold here recently. And then Mauricio Pineda. We'll find out a lot more about them. But it's kind of interesting and really kind of just, makes us vulnerable in defense, Pat.
No, absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely a bit of a concern there, and completely understand too. Obviously, you want them to be here with the U.S. setup, but like you said, for reasons with the club, and I think Kreis has mentioned just from his perspective as being MLS coach there, kind of understands. Obviously, disappointing outcome there, but we'll have to kind of keep on keeping on, especially against Mexico and Costa Rica. And hopefully, if we get farther into the tournament there, some of the other foes, maybe Canada.
Yeah, and I guess with the good thing about the uncertainty at center back, we don't really have that uncertainty at the fullback position. So I guess that's the silver lining in all this. The two fullbacks that really stand out to me are Sam Vines and Julian Araujo. We've really seen Sam Vines come into his own recently, and is someone that the U.S. program really sees a future for. So I think you're going to see him start pretty much every game at left back. I know Aaron Herrera is also on this roster and kind of is actually no, Aaron Herrera is not on this roster. Oh no, he is on this roster. Excuse me, I'm still trying to figure out. 31 players is a lot to
It's
cover.
a lot to cover.
So that's a player that might get some time, whether at left back or right back. But I think you're going to see a lot of Sam Vines, and then I think you're also going to see a lot of Julian Araujo. He's another player that has a bright future, is someone that this program really believes in and trusts in, and is a player that really has a lot to gain from this season. So I think you're going to see a lot of them, and I'm happy to see both of them on this roster.
Yeah, I think just Vines and especially the fullbacks there. Vines just offers in terms of his crossing and really that 1v1 defending where he was able to lock down that starting job. In the MLS there, but he has really grown as a player and has obviously some more skills to refine. But I'm really impressed with him. And then Araujo also is a name that has been around a while. Some rumors there, I think Tottenham in the past, and obviously getting those looks for the European clubs. I mean, I'm really excited about our prospects there, and those guys kind of terrorizing the attackers and also getting some good crosses in service. So I'm really excited about that group, Austin.
Yeah. So I feel like we feel comfortable with those outside backs. The center back situation is going to be definitely something to watch. I think, against Costa Rica and the Dominican Republic, it won't be that big of a deal. But when we go up against Mexico, these are going to be, legit professionals that we're playing. And the good thing is these players on our rosters now are legit professionals. Going back a few Olympic cycles, a few qualifying cycles, these were, college kids or kids who didn't even have like an MLS team that they were associated with. So, we've come a far way, and I feel a lot more confident in our, selections this time and the players that we have at our disposal. But I guess with that now, Pat, let's move on to the midfield. What's kind of the pulse there at midfield?
There's a lot going on at the midfield, Austin, and I guess I want to start with one of our exciting YAAs here, who I think will definitely feel pretty strong and confident, Austin, making that cut here come the actual qualification games here. And that's our boy, Johnny Cardoso. So again,
yes.
From Internacional, close to that title, really unfortunate. It was nice to see him get game time, but, hopefully they'll be back stronger to win that title there. But he's just so strong defensively and silking the ball, Austin. I think his coaches, again, maybe he's not the fastest, doesn't have that quick burst of speed, some of those other elements, but he just has this calmness and maturity to be able to keep the midfield ticking, string passes together and just, be able to shield defenders. He's a lanky guy, tall defender, but also very physical and has that kind of, again, that flair you get playing, for Internacional and in Brazil there. So I think he just offers something so unique that we don't really honestly haven't had in the pool. So I'm really excited about him.
Yeah, and he's someone that, we got to give props to Greg Berhalter for, because he was the one who found him. And like you said, Pat, he really looks like a complete player, someone that's really progressing well over in Brazil. And I'm just, really excited about his prospects going forward. Now, the one thing, Pat, with these midfielders, there is a player that's arguably the most senior player on this team at his position. Do you think that's going to kind of throw a wrench in his playing time in this tournament? Yeah,
and that was a great segue there for Jackson Yueill. Yeah, I certainly think, as it stands, obviously I would love to see in a perfect world Johnny, starting here. But I think with Jackson, I think he's just about to turn 24. He's the vet of the group, Austin, like you said. Just in terms of what he offers, very similar, obviously, the same position at 6. In terms of just knowing where to play it and how he's able to read the game so well, whether it's being able to stop counters, those 1v1 situations, but also finding those pockets of space. And again, whether it's laying a ball off to a center back, finding that space in between the attacking team's press and then springing forward in those line passing. Line breaking passes, excuse me. I mean, he just offers so much, and you've seen that, with Berhalter, getting him in here with, I believe, with some of the nation leagues, and obviously has been involved with the senior team a little bit here. So I think he is somebody, again, maybe doesn't have to be honest, as high as a ceiling as Johnny, but right now I think he's that lock starter in the position.
Okay, that's fair, and I could see that. There's got to be a captain of this group, and to my personal feeling, I think Jackson Ewell would be the perfect option for this group based on, all the things we just talked about. So yeah, I think it sucks for Johnny, but
I know.
I also think Johnny can play kind of further upfield a little bit too, and kind of, more reserved 8 role maybe. I don't think Johnny's a true box to box midfielder. Maybe we'll see more of that in the future, but I don't think he just solely has to be at the 6, but we'll find out, I guess. Do you like any other midfielders from this group before we move on?
Yeah, just a few to mention here. I think exciting, Austin, is Tanner Tessman, from FC Dallas, a 19-year-old.
Okay.
Aside from being a pretty athletic dude, 6'3", physical, has just the pure athletic skill there. He also has kind of that playmaking, that flair. Obviously, he's transitioned more back into an 8, I believe. But again, he has that uniqueness in terms of his skill, and then his strong defensive qualities, being able to tackle, check back, pick up some of those balls. So again, obviously with his stint there with Bayern was also a great experience to have. He's somebody that is really looking to take FC Dallas by storm, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's flirting with the starting spot here in the midfield.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good shout. He's someone, I think has a bright future. And like you said, Pat, offers a lot in both aspects, offense and defense. He can kind of do it all, to be honest. So, yeah, is that it? Do you have any more?
Yeah, I could go on and on, Austin. I think, obviously you have, Eric Williamson and Cole Bassett. Williamson I know you and I both, really like, again, could just offer so much to this team in terms of the pressing and the crunching tackles. But can I jump in real quick?
Yeah, go ahead. I love Eric Williamson, and I think I've loved him ever since I saw him at that U20 World Cup. He really can do it all. He's a total football type player. Like I said to Pat, you ask him to do whatever on the field, and he'll do it. He can mix it up with players from time to time. He can also use his skill to kind of close control and dribble through tight spaces. Also can, pick out a pass too. So I really love Eric Williamson. I
like the shout, Austin. I like the shout. So you're feeling, he could have a huge impact here.
Yeah, hopefully.
All right. Awesome. So, yeah, I mean, I just think this midfield group is obviously so essential, but how the plethora of options and just uniqueness to the group in terms of the 6s, the 8s, and some of the the other ones that can hint maybe drop from the forward and attacking category into the midfield. So obviously don't want to drag too much on that, but I guess I'll kind of send it your way, Austin, to our final group here.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I guess we can start with that one player, and that would be Georgi Mihailovic. So he's listed as an attacker, and I kind of said this to Pat off camera. It seems like he's been used recently in that Sebastian Lletget role, kind of thrown out on the left at times as like a inverted winger. Maybe that's a good way to put it, or also thrown in as like one of the dual 10s, and can kind of play both positions pretty well. He's someone who's pretty comfortable with the ball at his feet, likes to create, can also kind of get his hands dirty from time to time, and track back and defend too. So it was cool seeing him on this roster. He's had a lot of chances with the full national team. Some have gone well, some have not gone so well. But he's a player with a lot of experience, so I like seeing him. And then when you look at, some of the other wingers on this list, Uli Yanez is one that sticks out to me right away.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we're a little biased because, we're young Americans abroad, and that's what Uli Yanez is. But at the moment, he's just not having great success with Heerenveen. If I'm not mistaken, he was actually away from Heerenveen for the past month or so in the U.S., kind of dealing with some family issues. and just hasn't gotten much time there. It just seems like a lack of trust from his coach for some unknown reason.
Right.
I'm not exactly sure what the situation is. So I think this tournament and getting him, on the field and back rejuvenated could do wonders for his confidence and kind of lead him into the summer where, his options will probably be more open than he wishes they were. It doesn't seem like, he's probably not going to do great things with Wolfsburg next season coming back from this loan. So I think, he's going to have to kind of figure out his career and maybe, get another loan this summer. So I'm happy to see him on this roster. And then also, you got some unknowns too. You got like Benji Michel, who we've seen a little bit at Orlando City, was on this last January camp roster, who was, kind of a surprise to all of us. So that's kind of cool. And then Sebastian Saucedo, who has quality, and we've seen it from time to time, but is still kind of like a slow and steady, consistent player in my mind. So yeah, Pat, I think we've got a lot of options on this roster, especially out wide, which is really cool.
Yeah, and that will be extremely important. As the style and transcending down from the senior team here. The U23s where we have some of these dynamic players out wide. They can kind of interchange, and then you just have that dynamic ability where some of our sixes or anyone are kind of spraying balls diagonally or across, and having them in 1v1 situations. So I think the players that you mentioned there, I think are going to be fantastic here. Yeah,
and you also got Jonathan Lewis, which I forgot to mention right off the bat. I think he's someone who's perfect for this tournament, Pat. He's a player that likes to take players on, likes to get in behind the defense, and really just use that speed to kind of make things happen. So I think it's cool seeing him on this roster as well. And then when you look at strikers, you got really three of them with Jesus Ferreira, Ricardo Pepi, and Sebastian Soto. Excuse me. I don't know if you'll see all three strikers, Pat. I think this roster, is obviously going to get cut by 8 players.
Might be trimmed there. So
I don't know if you're going to be able to take 3 pretty much out and out strikers. Jesus Ferreira is the only one that can kind of move around, but Ricardo Pepi's so young, so I think you're really going to see a mix of minutes between Ferreira and Soto. And honestly, Pat, I don't know who to pick. If you're looking at start.
I know because Ferreira was pretty amazing against TNT there, and is just kind of on a hot streak right now. With FC Dallas, and obviously with the U.S. program here getting some looks here with Berhalter. So he just knows how to find that what space to find and really just attacks those areas. So he just offers something that's so unique too. But again, to their point, Pepi is so dynamic, so young. He'll have many more different tournaments and setups here to go. So it would be unfortunate there, but at the same time, we do have Soto here and Pereira. So
yeah, and Soto's a true poacher too. Soto's like out and out 9. I feel where Ferreira is more of like a hybrid 9. So I just think it'll be interesting. I think Jason Kreis has a lot of options, which is really cool in this attacking group.
Yeah, so something we're not used to saying, honestly, for the attacking side recently.
Right? Yeah, it's been a little while since we can claim that we have options in attack. So yeah, I agree with you, Pat. I think that's good. So looking at maybe a best 11 for this team, before we kind of move on to quick kicks. What do you think that best 11 is? Do you have a goalkeeper you'd select maybe first?
Yeah, that's right, Austin. I'm sticking strong, not biased. Philadelphia Union is my first team to support, but I think starting is going to be Matt Freese today. I think he just offers so much in the position in terms of his reflexing, his again, just goalkeeping skills there. Like I mentioned, he still needs to improve distribution out of the back, but that's a young keeper. I really feel confident about him or Marcinowski there. Okay, that's fair.
And then I think when you look at defenders, I'm gonna kind of take the wheel on defenders, Pat, if you don't mind. Right. I think we're gonna see Sam Vines and Julian Araujo. I think they're both locks for their positions. And then when you really look at center backs, it's such a uncertain position. And I think I'm gonna have to take Justin Glad and Mauricio Pineda. So Justin Glad, is kind of like I kind of liken him to a turtle in my mind. I think he's slow and steady, and
Hey, wins the race, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I think, he's someone who's just so consistent. He's never going to be, the best player on the field, but he's also, never going to be the worst player on the field. That's kind of my view on him. So I think he'll start. And then Mauricio Pineda, I'm going to be completely honest, Pat, full transparency. I have not seen much to anything of him. Just going off what people
I'll be honest, I haven't either.
Yeah, and he came from college, if I'm not mistaken, just got drafted this past year. So, we've heard some good things about him. We've heard he's, industrial and, offers a lot of positive qualities at the center back position. So, hey, I'm going to go with him in, center defense.
I like it, Austin. No, I think that's pretty strong. Obviously, we'll have to see Robinson there one day, Austin. But no, I think those are pretty strong locks there. I feel pretty comfortable being able to handle some of the daunting attacks that Mexico will be giving us there.
So who do you got in midfield?
Yeah, so moving on to midfield, this was tough, Austin. I mean, really, I think Jackson Ewell, being that veteran, the leader there with that 6th spot. I love Johnny, but I think Ewell's got to get the nod there back. Like you said, maybe Johnny can play in maybe a little bit higher up or replace Ewell, but I think he's a lock there with just the assets and intangibles that he brings. And also, if we're doing the 3 there, we have Tanner Tessman. I think is kind of a unique pick. You could argue for some other players, but why I'm saying Tessman is just in terms of that. He did play 10, way back when, and also having those defensive skills and athletic ability where, he could really interchange and be able to ignite the attack as well as, stick his foot in there and stop some of the, stop the midfield from getting overrun or any counters. So I think Tanner, just the way he's able to string some balls together, he actually has pretty, I wouldn't even say if it's low key, but he can thread some balls in the long diagonal passes there. So I think that's a unique option there, Austin. And then I'll kind of let you, talk a little bit more about this unique pick where you kind of swayed me here because I was really torn. I know Bassett and then Williamson there as well, but we ended up going with Mihailovic there. He is somebody that is a veteran there in terms of this group, obviously, and then getting some action with the U.S. senior team. Maybe people weren't exactly thrilled with some of his performances there, but all in all, he's still somebody that's in the picture, offers a lot in terms of his skill set, being able to drop into that kind of creative attacking midfielder type of role.
Yeah, it's interesting you finally went with that. I know we talked about it. So, yeah, that's cool. I just think he's a better fit for what our formation, if we play with the same formation that Greg Berhalter, plays with, then I think he just fits into, that number 10, that one of the dual 10 role a little bit better than some of the other players, especially with some of these teams we're going to be playing. This is going to be a sit back and defend Costa Rica. This is going to be a sit back and defend Dominican Republic. Now, when we look at Mexico, maybe we go with someone like you said, like Cole Bassett, maybe we throw Johnny on the field, or even go with Eric Williamson too. But I kind of like what Mihailovic brings, to be honest.
Yeah, it's pretty unique, from that attacking sense. So obviously, I'd love to have some of our more, the sixes in that spot. You could say are pretty strong too, but you definitely need some of the, more of that attacking prowess as well. So. Yeah, it was definitely tough for that last spot, I would say, for the midfield group there.
Okay, and now to go over to the attackers, I have Jonathan Lewis out on the left, Uliana's on the right, and then I think it's going to be a mix between Jesus Ferreira and Sebastian Soto. So I think against Costa Rica and Dominican Republic, we could see Jesus Ferreira start in those games. But then when I think we play Mexico, I just have a feeling Jason Kreis is going to want more of a goal scorer, more of a poacher, that classic number 9. So I'm going to kind of go with a mix of them both, Pat. I know that's breaking the rules a little bit, but yeah, I just like that mix a little bit. I couldn't really pick.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think when I'm thinking against Mexico and what Sebastian can again substitute on in minutes, make an impact in that just classic, poaching, goal scoring striker there forward, and he just can turn it on a light switch so quickly. So he could really provide that spark, whether it's like you said, Pereira just for some of those other games, but when push comes to shove against Mexico, I would definitely rely on Soto there.
That's fair. Okay. So now, looking back at this roster, looking ahead at, the competition, how do we expect this team to stack up? Do we expect them to qualify? Do we think we're going to finally see our boys play at an Olympics this summer?
Yeah, Austin. I mean, I've got to say yes. I'm feeling pretty confident. Obviously, there are some players that we'd love to have a part of this group, and not to say there's still a shot, right? I think it's the 40 that they could still pull from, but it's a, maybe I don't even want to quantify it, but 0.01% chance that even happens. But yeah, I mean, I think Costa Rica, Dominican Republic, we handle them, get the wins there, and then Mexico could be pretty challenging. It is the last game, so it'll be kind of unique to see how much obviously you have that rivalry, but where the teams are. I think both of those will definitely present just a huge challenge, and those teams kind of being the locks there for the top two. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement. I feel a lot more comfortable with this roster than the roster we had last time around. I believe it was 2015. So yeah, it's just like, I don't know. We haven't done it in so long that I'm nervous about it, but I also, have that confidence that we have the right players now that can accomplish a goal. And I think, not winning this tournament as soft as it sounds, I think helps in us, ultimately reaching the Olympics. The mindset going in my opinion, shouldn't be to win this qualifying tournament. It should just be to make it out of the group first, and then win that semifinal game and secure an Olympic berth. But yeah, Pat, I think we're in a good spot, and I feel confident.
Yeah, I think it'd be kind of interesting to see if maybe we come up against Canada. I mean, I think they have a pretty seamless group there. So if we can get through, like you said, one game at a time, let's get out of the group first. But I really do feel, obviously, Mexico's a threat. That we're, if not right there, that number two, tied with number one team there that should qualify.
Yeah. So I think with that, Pat, now let's head over to Quick Kicks.
All right, everybody. We just got through that Olympic qualification preview. Some exciting analysis by my co-host here, Austin, and we're really excited to, again, we can't forget that weekly soccer report. So let's go, guys. Let's head on over to Quick Kicks.
So you could test Dwayne Miller. It's Altidore over the wall, and that one is in! Josie Altidore from a long way out. The opening goal for the United States.
And to start off Quick Kicks, we're heading over with Christian Pulisic in Chelsea. So Christian subbed on in the 65th minute in a 0-0 draw against Man United.
And going over to Germany, we have Gio Reyna, who starred and played 70 minutes in Dortmund's 3-0 win over Arminia Bielefeld.
And over in Italy, Austin, with Weston McKennie, they subbed on and played 22 minutes. And a disappointing 1-1 draw against Hellas Verona. So Juventus isn't looking great for that Serie A title.
Yeah, not great over there at Juve. But going back to Germany, we have Josh Sargent. Josh started, played 79 minutes, and also scored a goal in Bremen's 2-1 win over Eintracht Frankfurt. And Josh was actually our YAA Player of the Week. Actually could have had another goal and assist that was called back in this game. So great performance from him this week.
That's what we like to hear, Austin. That's fantastic. And moving over to Spain with Serginho Dest. Started and played the full 90 in a 2-0 win against Sevilla in the Super Cup final. So that's great for Dest.
And going again back to Germany, we have Tyler Adams, who started and played 90 minutes in Leipzig's 3-2 comeback win over Gladbach. Came back in the final minutes. So, some drama there.
Down to crunch time, Austin. And we're heading over with Spain again. We're going back, I guess, with Yunus Musa. Started and played 54 minutes in a tough 3-0 loss.
And going again back to Germany, we have Matt Hoppe, who started and played 73 minutes in Schalke's 5-1 loss to Stuttgart. So, more trouble in paradise for Schalke. And they also sacked their entire, technical staff, manager, board. There was a lot of cleaning out this weekend. So really, really bad situation there at Schalke.
Yeah, spring cleaning unfortunately came very early. So, Austin. But having some good news, I guess, Timo Weah subbed on there for the last 29 minutes. And Lille's 1-1 draw against Strasbourg. So just great to see Timo getting time on the pitch.
Yeah, it's always good to see. And again, heading back to Germany, we got a lot of players from Germany this week. We got to talk about Chris Richards. So Chris started, played 90 minutes in Hoffenheim's really surprising 2-0 loss to Molde in the Europa League, which actually kicked Hoffenheim out of the Europa League. So, sad to see for Chris. And then this weekend, he started again and played 90 minutes for Hoffenheim in their 1-1 draw with Union Berlin. So good to see him get 180 minutes, in a close span there this week.
Yeah, that's what we want to see as he is competing for the starting spot there for the USMNT. So, that's awesome, Austin. And heading over to Portugal with Reggie Cannon. So again, Boavista, had a tough 2-1 loss again, and unfortunately, Cannon wasn't involved. He was an unused substitute.
And going over to Austria, we have Brendan Aronson, who was also involved in 2 games this week. And, Brendan started and played 60 minutes for Salzburg in their 2-1 loss to Villarreal. They were also kicked out of the Europa League. And then this weekend, involved in another loss. So started and played 69 minutes for Salzburg in a 2-1 loss to Sturm Graz this weekend. So not so great of a week for Brendan Aronson, and also Jesse Marsh, who actually picked up a yellow card in the Europa League too. So
that's tough. A lot of losses there, getting knocked out in Europa. And heading over to the championship with Daryl DK Barnsley. Daryl started and played 75 minutes in a 2-1 win against Millwall.
Nice. And going over to Switzerland, we have Jordan Sabachu, who started and played 78 minutes and also scored a goal for BSC Young Boys in their big 2-0 win over Bayer Leverkusen. So, they defeat Leverkusen on aggregate and go through to, I guess, the round of 16 now in the Europa League. So, hey, good for Jordan.
Yeah, guess he loves scoring Leverkusen, so that's great. But, heading over to France with Gioacchini. He started, played the full 90, and unfortunate 2-0 loss against Paris FC.
And going over to Denmark, we have Emmanuel Sabi, who started, played 76 minutes, and also scored a goal for Odense Bold Club in their 2-1 win over Randers.
It's awesome. Sabi's heating up. And our boy, Andrea, started for Frosinone in a tough 4-0 loss there in Serie B. So that hurts their chances there. Yeah,
it was unfortunate to see. And going over to Austria, we have Taylor Booth, who started, played 90 minutes in his team's 2-0 loss to Austria Vine.
And back to Spain here with Shaq Moore in Tenerife. So again, Shaq is just racking up the minutes, Austin. And again, was involved in another 90 in a 3-1 win.
Yeah, and I saw an interesting stat. It looks like he's played in all 27 of their league games this year. He's really getting consistent minutes there in Spain, which is good to see. And going over to Mexico, we have Santiago Munoz, a dual nat that we've started to cover a little bit more on the show. Started, played 77 minutes, and also scored a goal for Santos Laguna in their 3-2 win over Juarez this weekend. And it was a really nice goal off a header. So if you can, go check that out.
Yeah, certainly one on the radar now. Should be on a lot of radars.
For sure.
Heading over to the English Championship with Cameron Carter-Vickers. Started and played the full 90 in a 1-0 win against Watford.
And going over to Holland, we have Kik Pieri. So Kik started and played 90 minutes in FC 20's 2-2 draw with Heracles Almelo. Another player we're starting to cover a little bit more.
Yeah, certainly exciting, Austin. And I guess staying there in Holland with Luca De La Torre and Heracles. So he was involved the full 90 in a 2-2 draw against FC 20.
So that's all for episode today, guys. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to our channel down below.
And don't forget, check out with Instagram, Twitter, even TikTok. We're putting out great content for you guys. Just a lot happening, with the weekly reports, the Olympic, qualification here coming up, and obviously the friendlies, Austin.
Yeah, it's a crazy time. But also, before we get into that real quick, check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. This episode will be available on all those platforms as well. And like you said, Pat, we were really pumped for the Olympics. Obviously, originally we were going to play them last summer, and we thought, maybe we could get some true first teamers there. Not so sure if that's really going to be the case this year, but, at any rate, there's still some really exciting prospects who can play a part. And, some great names that we talked about today on our episode.
Yeah, and again, hopefully, fingers crossed, things are good there. I think it pushed back to July there in Tokyo. Hopefully, again, squared away, the U.S. can qualify and win. Just an amazing accolade to be, propel our youth forward. So I think that's really leading up to one thing, Austin.
That's right, Pat. And that is one day we will win the World Cup.